Welcome in. Today we're really digging into how tech is changing farming, like really changing it. Satellites, AI out in the fields, it's not your grandpa's almanac anymore.
It's vital too. The world needs more food, but grown sustainably. That's the tough part.
Exactly. So we're looking at Farminaut. They're right in the thick of this. Precision agriculture, they call it. Using tech to figure out how much wheat, rice, lentils, those core crops, how much a farm can grow. You'd think, oh, fancy stuff for mega farms, but they work with all sizes.
That's what's so cool, how they use the old ways, but with this high-tech twist. Farmers have always watched their land right, compared to years past. This just adds on to that.
Like instead of asking your neighbor, hey, how'd your tomatoes do last year? Right, you've got a satellite giving your plants a daily checkup.
Exactly. Get this multispectral satellite imagery. It sees light we can't, so they know a plant's thirsty before you'd ever see it wilting.
So not just pretty space pics, but real data on how things are growing. Where does the AI part come in? This is like predicting the future almost.
Now that's where it gets wild. They use machine learning. Picture it like Spotify recommending your next song. The more it learns what you like, the better it gets. Right. Farminaut's AI is crunching tons of data, old crop records, weather patterns, what the soil's like in that field, and those satellite images.
So it's always getting smarter about its predictions the more data it gets. That's got to be key, especially for crops that are really picky about the weather.
Exactly. For farmers, this is huge. Think about it. You can plan everything. How much to plant, when to water, even what prices to negotiate, all based on a really good guess of how much you'll yield.
No more guesswork, huh? It's like a farmer's crystal ball, but it runs on data, not magic.
Precisely. Less waste, lower costs, which adds up to more food on people's plates.
And we need that. With the climate changing, more mouths to feed. But hold on, I want to break down how this works for different crops. You said wheat, rice, lentils. Let's start with wheat. What's special about their wheat predictions?
The detail is incredible. They're not just looking at a whole field of wheat and giving a rough number. They can zoom in on sections, so they can tell if this patch needs more water, this one needs fertilizer, even early warnings for bugs.
Wow, so it's like each part of the field gets its own care plan, huh?
Exactly. They're looking at all sorts of data at once. Maybe one spot, the plants have low chlorophyll. That's like plant energy, right? Could mean something's wrong.
Yeah, like how well they're photosynthesizing using sunlight.
Right. So they see that. Plus, if the soil's dry there, what the weather's been like, how that type of wheat usually grows, boom, Farminaut tells the farmer exactly what to do.
Instead of just guessing based on what they've always done.
Exactly. Less guessing, better choices.
So better harvest and better for the environment in the long run.
You got it. It's a win-win.
Okay, we talked about wheat. What about rice? That's a whole different thing, right? Different growing conditions, different ways to harvest.
Right, rice has its own challenges, but the core idea is the same. Satellites, machine learning, analyzing data, they just focus on what matters for rice.
Okay, so walk us through it. What are they looking at with rice?
Well, rice yield is more than just counting plants. It's about how many of those little branches that hold the grains, how many grains per branch, even how heavy each grain is. It's a whole formula.
So it's not just how many rice plants, but how much rice each plant makes, too.
Exactly. And then factor in when it was planted, the water levels. Even the exact type of rice makes a difference.
Wow, that's a lot. Like each little rice paddy is its own little world they got to figure out.
You could say that, but that's the cool part. They make it easy. Farmers can see it all right on their phone.
Wait, so a rice farmer, let's say in Vietnam, could be out there, phone in hand, getting tips from Farminaut on how to make their rice grow better.
Exactly. Data's only good if you can use it, right? This puts it in the farmer's hands.
It's like having an expert right there, giving advice every step of the way, instead of just going by gut feeling. That's got to be huge for farmers.
It is, and it's not just about growing more, it's about avoiding risks, too.
Risks like what?
Rice farming, it's vulnerable, right? Bugs, diseases, the weather acting up. Farminaut, it can spot trouble brewing before you'd ever see it yourself.
It's like a, what do they call it, early warning system for your rice paddy.
Exactly. Let's say there's some disease spreading. By the time a farmer notices, it might be too late. But Farminaut, using those satellites, it picks up on tiny changes. Maybe the temperature's off, or the plant's color is slightly different.
And it's like, beep, beep, farmer, check on quadrant 3, something's fishy.
Exactly. Early warning means you can do something about it, maybe use a spray, change the watering, something.
It's pretty amazing using tech like this to solve a problem as old as time.
Yeah.
How to feed people. But lentils,
Mm-hmm.
those are different again. How do they fit in? They're not like wheat or rice, how they grow, how we eat them.
Wow. You're right. Lentils are tricky. See, wheat, you pretty much know when it's ready. Golden brown, time to harvest. Lentils, they keep growing, making more flowers, more pods, even as they're maturing.
So you can't just look at it and know when to harvest.
Exactly. This is where Farminaut gets really clever. They use what's called NDVI.
NDVI.
Yeah.
Sounds fancy. Break it down for us. What is that?
It's a way to tell how healthy a plant is, how much it's grown, all from those satellite images. See, healthy lentil plants, they reflect light differently.
So they look at how the light bounces back, and that tells them how the lentils are doing.
Precisely. And since they're watching this over time, they can tell if the plants are on track, if something's going wrong. They can even adjust their predictions as they go.
Like checking the heartbeat of every single lentil plant from space.
Yeah.
But it's not just about this NDVI thing, right?
Mhm.
What else goes into those lentil predictions?
You're right, it's a whole picture. They look at the type of lentil, how wet the soil is, even what bugs or diseases might be a problem in that area.
So it's really in-depth.
That's precision agriculture, really. It's not one solution fits all. It's about knowing the details.
Like instead of a paper map, it's like having a GPS for your farm. Tells you exactly where to go, what to expect.
Perfect analogy. The GPS helps you get somewhere faster. This helps farmers grow more, but without wasting stuff.
This has been fascinating, but I do want to ask, like, why these crops? Why wheat, rice, lentils? What makes them so special?
Great question, and it gets to the heart of what Farminaut's doing. Those three. That's what billions of people rely on. It's basic survival food.
So this isn't just, oh, helping farmers make more money. It's about fighting hunger on a global scale.
Exactly. Especially in poorer countries, wheat, rice, lentils, that's what people eat. If they can grow even a little bit more, it makes a huge difference.
It's like that saying, give a man a fish. But here, it's like, give a farmer this technology and you're feeding whole communities.
Not just feeding them more, but better. Because when you grow things right, the food's healthier too.
More food, healthier food, less waste. That's a win all around.
Exactly. This isn't just tech. It's tech used for good.
This has been amazing, but I know folks are probably thinking, okay, what's the catch? This sounds too good.
Well, it's not that there's a catch exactly, but like anything new, it's complicated. No easy answers.
Right. And that's what we're here for, to dig into that. So downsides, challenges. What are we missing with all this high-tech farming?
One thing you got to think about is the cost. Even though Farminaut has those different plans to make it work for different farms, it's still money up front. And small farms especially, they're already stretched thin.
Makes sense. It's like any new gadget, right? The early birds, they can take the risk, but to really take off, it's got to be affordable.
Exactly. That'll happen, but it takes time. And then there's the data side of it. All this relies on farmers sharing a lot of info, what their land's like, what they grow.
Which gets us into data privacy, security. That's a hot topic everywhere these days, not just on the farm.
Right. Imagine if a company like Farminaut gets hacked. That's not just credit card numbers. It's info about how we grow our food. Someone could misuse that.
That's a little worrying, not gonna lie. Are they doing anything about that?
Oh, yeah. They seem to be taking it seriously. Encryption, they've got these reports on how they use your data. It's an ongoing thing, though. Big power, big responsibility, you know.
Right, like just because you can do something with data doesn't mean you always should. And speaking of responsibility, what about the environment? We talked about less waste, but this tech needs power, needs materials to be built.
That's the big question, and researchers are on it. What's the total environmental impact? We don't fully know yet.
So it's not as simple as tech is good or tech is bad
Yeah.
for the planet. It's more complicated.
Exactly. And this is where it gets really interesting. Some studies, they're finding that when you use tech to get fertilizer just right, it actually pollutes less than old school ways.
Because you're not overdoing it, so less of that stuff ends up polluting the water and air, right?
Exactly. But then you've got the energy to run those computer systems, making the sensors.
Lots to consider.
For sure. That's why we need to keep making this tech more sustainable itself.
Sounds like you're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Kind of.
In a way. But even so, you can't ignore the good it can do, especially feeding everyone, with the population growing all the time.
Right. And the climate changing at the same time, making it harder to grow stuff.
Exactly. This tech might be how we deal with that. Not just growing more, but growing even when things are tough.
Okay, so how does it help us deal with climate change then?
Well, think about water. Droughts are getting worse in some places, right? Precision agriculture, it helps us use water better. Just the right amount, exactly where the plant needs it.
Instead of the hope this works sprinkler system?
Exactly. Farmers can check the soil moisture right on their phone, change the watering schedule, less waste.
And that adds up because farming uses a ton of water globally, right?
Absolutely. But it's not just water, it's adapting to temperatures changing, growing seasons shifting.
Hold on. How do you adapt to growing season?
Think about it. You're a farmer, you've grown a certain crop the same way your whole life. Suddenly, it's getting hotter, so the best time to plant is different now.
That could ruin your whole year.
Right. But now you can get data on your phone. What's the soil temperature? How much rain? When will those pesky bugs show up? You can plant at the new right time.
Instead of just hoping for the best.
Exactly. That's going to be key as the climate keeps changing.
It's like giving farmers the tools to navigate, like, uncharted territory.
Exactly. But it's not just about dealing with the bad stuff. It can help us fix it too.
So, adaptation we talked about.
Yeah.
What about fixing it?
Fertilizer's a big one. Using too much that's bad for the climate pollutes the water.
Right, because it doesn't just vanish, it goes somewhere.
Exactly. But with this tech, you can put fertilizer exactly where it needs to be, the right dose for that plant at that time.
Like giving your fields the perfect little vitamin boost.
That's a good way to put it. Better for the planet, saves the farmer money too.
Everybody wins. Anything else? Other ways this helps fix the climate stuff?
Oh, yeah. Carbon farming is a big one.
Carbon farming? Now, there's a term I haven't heard before.
Basically, it's farming in a way that traps carbon in the soil.
So instead of it going into the air, we're burying it.
Exactly. And this tech can help with that. Sensors tell you how healthy the soil is, how much carbon's in it. Then you can make smarter choices. What to plant, when to till the soil. All these little things make a difference.
So we're not just growing plants, we're taking care of the soil like it's alive. Part of the solution.
Precisely. It's a whole new way of thinking about farming.
I like it. But with all this talk of robots and data, it's easy to forget about, well, the humans. Farmers are still out there making the calls.
100%. And that's something Farmanaut gets. They're not replacing farmers. They're giving them tools.
So it's not just, here's your fancy phone app, good luck.
No way. They've got real experts on staff, training farmers, helping them every step.
That's good to hear. It's like having a tech support team that also knows everything about growing stuff.
That's it. This isn't about humans or tech. It's both together.
Using the best of both, right. That's how we get good at something. Not by bitching the old ways, but by adding to them.
Absolutely. And that's what's exciting. When you mix human cleverness with the power of tech, who knows what we can do?
I love that. It's not man versus machine, it's man with machine to build a better future. Yeah.
You got it. That's something worth working towards.
Definitely. But even with the best of intentions, things can go wrong. We talked about data and who has access to the internet, but could this tech make inequality worse in farming?
Oh, that's a big one. And we got to be honest about it. If we're not careful, the farmers who are already struggling, they might fall even further behind.
It's like the saying, the rich get richer, but in this case, it's the tech-savvy farmers get ahead while everyone else struggles to keep up.
Exactly. That's how you get more inequality, and that's never good. We need to make sure everyone benefits from this, not just those who can afford it.
So how do we do that? How do we make sure this helps everyone, not just a select few?
It's got to be a group effort, teaching people how to use this stuff, making sure rural areas have internet, coming up with rules that help the little guy, make it a fair fight.
Sounds like a big job.
It is. But if we want to eat in the future, it's got to get done.
Well said. And that brings us back to something we keep coming back to, the human side of all this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, satellites are cool, algorithms are impressive, but farmers are still the ones out there making the real decisions about our food.
100%. And Farmanaut, they get that. They're not trying to replace farmers. They're trying to give them more information.
So it's combining all that human knowledge, all that experience with what the tech can do.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting. You mix those two together, who knows what's possible?
I love that. But hold on, we got to talk about blockchain. You mentioned it earlier. Everyone's talking about blockchain these days, but it's kind of confusing. How does that fit in with farming? What's it all about?
Great question. And it just goes to show how all this tech stuff is connected. The simplest way to think about it, blockchain is like a really, really secure way to keep track of stuff. And it's transparent. Everyone can see what's going on. In farming, it means you can follow food from the farm to your plate. It's like a history book that can't be messed with.
So my food has a digital passport now.
Yeah, kinda. And that passport, it's good for everyone, farmers too.
Okay, I get the consumer side, but what's in it for the folks actually growing the stuff?
Lots, actually. For one, no more shady business. Everything's out in the open, how that food was made, where it went. So farmers who are doing things right, organic, fair trade, all that, they can prove it, and people will pay more because they know it's legit. Like, imagine some coffee farm in Costa Rica. Now they can say, yep, our beans are the real deal, and people can check for themselves.
That levels the playing field a bit, right? Farmers have been at the mercy of big companies for so long.
Exactly. And it's not just about money, it's about safety too. Remember those lettuce recalls? With this, you know instantly where that lettuce came from, if it's part of the bad batch or not. No more guessing games.
Wow, so it could actually prevent people from getting sick.
Exactly. Safer food, more trust. Everyone wins.
So from Bitcoin to better bananas. Who knew, right?
It's crazy how technology finds new uses.
Like back in the day when we invented the wheel. Could you imagine all the things it'd be used for?
Exactly. We're just getting started with blockchain. That's why it's exciting.
My brain's a little fried, honestly, in a good way. Satellites, AI, blockchain. But it's all connected to something we need every day. Food.
It's not sci-fi. It's happening now. The future of food, it's not some far-off thing. It's the choices we make today, right? The tech we build, the conversations we have.
We're all in this together, right? Farmers, people eating, tech folks, even the politicians making the rules. We got to figure this out together.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, huge thanks to expert speaker for breaking this all down. This has been eye-opening, really makes you think.
Glad to be here.
And for everyone listening, keep learning. Ask questions about where your food comes from, try new things. Until next time, happy eating, everyone.